Hey everybody, it's Steve Smith at Civic, Nebraska, coming to you to talk about TROVE today. TROVE is our voter turnout engine that you can use to analyze voter turnout and participation data going back to the 2020 election. And you can compare how voting trends are going in Nebraska based on geography and lots of different demographic data. So this data comes from the General Secretary of State's office and also the latest census data. So it's a mashup of those two information streams that give us a nice look at what is going on around Nebraska. When you click on the logo, you get this little quick description of what to expect. Go ahead and give that a quick read before diving into our map. But when you're ready, click on View Map, and it will take you straight into, there's our lovely state. You can see there are a few different colors. This is done by census tract. As we get closer in, especially in the urban areas, you can start to see, again, by census tract, it's pretty granular. You can get right down to it. For rural areas, it makes a little more sense to use zip code, but let's just give you an example. This is where I'm from, my home county. I'm from a little town called Rosalie, about population 200. And there's my town. That's about where I'm from. So we did pretty good. We were around, about what the state average was. But darker, just over to the east, is a little bit less. Here's Omaha. Darker is lower voting. Lighter and red is higher voting, orange. So you've got some purple areas here in northeast Omaha. Here's a nice dividing line. What's the difference between these two census tracts? So this might be something you might want to investigate if you're in Omaha. Or just trying to bring out the vote on both sides of that roadway there. You can zoom in and look at all the different kinds of data and demographic data for each census tract. Lots of information in here. Whether there's a senior citizen living at home, whether there are 18-year-olds or under living in this home, income levels, racial and ethnic data. Lots of different ways to look through this data. Of course, here's a little bit further west in Omaha. Let's zoom out a little bit. A little bit further west into the Omaha suburbs, you get a little bit different story from demographic information. As we well know, that's Omaha. And so you can see some of the changes and compare what some of the lower turnout precincts versus what some of the higher turnout precincts look like. That's an urban area. Let's zoom out now and go out to, a little bit more towards the comparison level here. So let's compare 2020 to 2024. You can do this. Maybe in some areas of the state, not a big change, but in different neighborhoods around the state, especially if you can take this bar and move it between the two areas to see what the difference was. And you can hold it and scroll it, and it will show you like a curtain being pulled in front of different areas. Here's Lincoln, for example. So let's slide this baby over, and you'll see some mild changes. Oh, well, very consistent there. What about that low turnout pocket? Yep, did a little better in 2024. So you get the idea. You will get the idea. Again, maybe better to use some data, using the data of zip code for rural areas and perhaps census data for urban areas. That works just a little bit better for TROVE. You can do it however you like. You can look through lots of different demographics. Here's one that shows the number of homes in Nebraska that have someone living that is 60 years or older in them. And this gives you an idea of an age breakdown. Not necessarily who they voted for or what they voted for, but the type of people and the demographic data that shows, how these folks live in different areas of here's Lincoln. And as you can see, in and around some of the core neighborhoods, you have higher poverty rates, and you will see that data being displayed in terms of how Lincoln stacks up in terms of income, and there's the different breakdowns. So that's the that's the level that you can get with Trove, and we hope that folks will use this data right down to the street block to get a sense of how our fellow Nebraskans stack up versus how they, or not how they voted, but whether or not they participated in the 2020, 2022, or 2024 elections. That is Trove, my friends. Get in there and have fun with it.